Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In this short session, we're going to look at an important point, which is when you're young and you want to get married, what do you do? Okay. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a speech where he addressed the youth specifically, right? In this hadith, the Messenger of Allah said, "O young people, whoever can afford marriage, he should marry." Right? Whoever can afford marry, he must marry, not he should marry, because the translation of should, it should be he must marry. And then he mentions the reasons why. He says, for that will help him to lower his gaze and to guard his modesty, meaning to protect his private parts from illegal sexual intercourse, from committing zina. Whoever is not able to marry is recommended to fast, as fasting diminishes his sexual power. And this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. Okay, now in this case, the scholars speak about the obligation of getting married when you have strong desires. And if you don't have strong desires but have the ability, then the recommendation of getting married. Right? So this hadith, it shows that it's recommended to get married. Okay, and marriage is in many cases more important than a person devoting himself to voluntary acts of ibadah or acts of worship, right? Like, for example, seeking knowledge, or which is not compulsory knowledge, like, for example, voluntary other acts of ibadah, which is voluntary. The relationship here, the Messenger of Allah, he's speaking to young people. Why? Because they have more desires, and he's warning them away from doing anything which compromises their chastity, okay, which is their purity, okay, because your chastity is what keeps you pure and clean. So he's saying, oh young people, whoever can afford to get married should marry. Okay, so here, when it comes to marriage, you have some people that they are able to control their desires, whether it's through fasting or other than fasting, right? But in a permissible way, right? In that case, it's not necessarily an obligation for that person to get married. You have others where they are unable to control their desires and they are constantly feeding their desires, unable to maintain their chastity by either looking at that which is haram or other than that of actions which are impermissible. In this case, a person who can't suppress his urges, then it's an obligation for them to do one of two things, either to get married or to fast, right? To get married if they have the means, the financial and means, or to fast, which because it lowers their sexual desires. In every case, one of the ways in which you protect your chastity and private parts and your honor and the honor of somebody else is by lowering your gaze and not looking at that which is going to cause your desires to be aroused. So this looks at, again, the aspect of marriage which falls underneath ibadah and worship, and the hadith that speak about getting married and encourage it and speak about the virtues of marriage. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.